Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of HBHA Lore. I'm your host, Micah Margulies, where each episode I sit down with a different person connected to HBHA's past or present. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by a wonderful guest. He is a graduate of the class of 2016. He had about as big of an impact on the technology of HBHA and the digital realm of HBHA as a student could possibly have. I'm thrilled to welcome to HBHA Lore, Jacob Katz. Jacob, hello.
Hi, you said I was a wonderful guest, but we don't know that yet, so we'll see.
I think by the end of the hour, the listeners will be able to judge for themselves. So, as I mentioned in that brief intro, Jacob, I said that you had a big impact on the technology of HBHA, and we will certainly get into the various endeavors that you did during your time here, and some things you've even contributed to HBHA since you have graduated. Um, but I know that that's also continued to be your career path. So, can you tell us a bit about what you do, what you've done professionally, especially as it connects to some of those video and photography things?
Sure. Currently at this exact moment I'm a freelancer. But I do freelance video production services. I've done weddings, commercials, event coverage, short films, music videos, all that type of thing. Um, in my professional life since graduating college, I mainly have worked for a home and medical appliances company. I was their like head of video for 4 years. And we made a bunch of stuff. There's a chance that some people listening to this might use their products. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name because I don't work there anymore.
All right.
Um,
But you
and
know
then I
what?
will,
They're handy around the house, whatever they may be.
yeah, I'll name names when if I have beef to pick with them. But I was also on retainer for a music label for a while, doing music videos and other assorted shoots, and that was kind of crazy because we got like flown around the country. I worked with some big name brand musicians. I did social media for a feature film that they produced. Um, but right now, living the freelancer life and trying to build up momentum with doing all the other stuff I talked about before.
I want to talk about that the music video stuff that you said there.
Sure.
Are you can you share the some of the
Oh
music
yeah.
so what's
Yeah,
some of the music
totally.
projects that you were a part of?
So for the artist side, I did some music videos for bands like Nothing More, The Who, not The Who spelled HU. It's a Mongolian band.
I was gonna say I'm familiar
It
with some of
sounds a
these.
lot
They're like
more,
one of the
yeah,
five most famous rock bands of all time.
yeah. The version that I work with are still great. Their music is awesome, but it does sound a lot more impressive if I'm saying it out loud. Um, there was also From Ashes to New, which is like a new metal type of band. And then a few other clients of the record company had under their wing.
So, in terms of the work you were doing for these music video projects, were you a director of these? Were you editing? What was kind of your role in these projects?
Primarily I was editing and doing the effects for them. I did get to help shoot one of them, and I was working on like related behind the scenes projects. And so it was a lot of fun. It kind of destroyed my work life balance, but it was a good time while it lasted.
I wish that I could see you're not the one for me. Lost the old, you lost the old me, found the misery.
That sounds very cool. And then you said you were also working for this kind of household appliance
Mhm.
company. What when people hear household appliances, they're probably the first thing they're thinking of usually isn't like video editing or something. So kind of what
Yeah,
your role within that company, and how did you use your video making and editing skills to highlight things for them?
sure. So they primarily sell on Amazon, and on Amazon you have a lot of photos and a lot of text, but what they saw was that products with videos in them, especially videos that were treated with a lot more care than you see from a lot of international brands, got a much better response. And so we wanted to have a very video focused production side to the commercialization of their products. And then there was also social media. There was like brand building on YouTube. And then there was also, they have some like internal sister companies that work with other businesses, and so they also needed video content for that. So I was doing helping with the concept, then like ideating, helping write sometimes, even though like our copywriter did most of that, and then I was filming, editing, doing all the post-production stuff, and then preparing all of that for delivery to go on to Amazon or YouTube or any of the platforms that we needed to cater to.
I know that a passion of yours from that I remember from high school, because I had the joy of teaching you in high school, and some of those stories, um, is that you loved animation, both in terms of watching animation and also in high school. I know you were starting to do some work with animation. As you've learned more about various video making skills, have you continued your work in the animation realm, and have you kind of developed any skills with that?
I have tried. Animation is, for me at least, significantly harder than video because it takes so much more time. I went to college for animation. My degree is in animation. And I try to use those skills whenever I can with projects. A lot of it is in like just finding creative ways to add overlays or text or something to a video. But in personal projects, I have still tried um, to put animation in. Like as a specific example, my sister, if she listens to this, is going to really hate that I bring this up, but I have had
Sure
a
to listen.
tradition. Maybe. I have a tradition of making these very chaotic, very inappropriate birthday videos for her. And
I've
in
watched them. I
the,
think they're appropriate. I've seen them.
you shouldn't think that they're appropriate. They're not.
Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. And I hear it's yet again somebody's birthday this year. So here I am with another video on how to navigate the world and maybe have a little fun doing it.
But the most recent one, I commandeered the work studio for like a weekend morning and made this intense mess of a production. But in it, there's this little animated character. She was turning 21, so it's a little animated shot glass, who's helping me make some of these drinks for her birthday. Um, and that was a lot of fun to do character animation because making commercials for kitchen scales, you don't really get a chance to animate a little guy. But I'm trying to work that into as much stuff as I can just because it's not a skill set that I get to use a whole lot anymore, but it's still a lot of fun. It's still a big part of like the creative forces that I think drive me forward because it's always nice to, you know, break into or not break into, but work in a different field than the one that I have kind of made a job out of.
And I know you said you've been doing some freelance work recently in the past, let's say year or two. Are there any events or projects that you've kind of spearheaded on your own, or maybe someone asked you to do something, but you've kind of taken control of it that you've been really proud of or that you've enjoyed working on?
Um, I mean, I've weddings have been kind of an unexpected thing that I started to really enjoy. I
The
film
photography of them or filming them?
videography.
Yeah.
So I've only done a few, but I if I don't you know Gabriella Sonnenschein, right?
Of course I do. Not only did I teach,
Well,
I direct. Ever heard of the play Arsenic and Old Lace?
that's true. I should have remembered. Should have remembered who. Well, I filmed her wedding in May.
Mazel tov to both of
It
you.
was Yeah, well, it was a very fun time. It was one of the more intensive shoots that I've ever done because it was like a 13-hour day.
Had you ever
And
shot a
there,
wedding before?
it was my second one. It was the first one that was like this intense. The first one was her brother. But um, it was me and my friend, like longtime creative partner. We came in. I live in St. Louis, so we drove into Kansas City for it. And the wedding was just like so gorgeous. There was all this stuff going on, but because of some of the events they had going on at the wedding, like they had a flash mob, they had a music performance, we got to film and edit some of the highlight reel like it was a music video. And that was a lot of fun just because we came into it thinking, okay, it's going to be like traditional wedding. You want like the slow moving shots that are really like get a sense of the space. You want them kissing, you want the stepping on the glass. But then by the time it got to the reception, we're like, okay, we can actually film this like we've been working on and like film into the colored lights and get all these nice silhouettes. And I think it turned out really well.
That's really cool how it's almost like you figured out the story of the wedding and the style that would make sense for the video as you're watching it, like in real time, kind of thinking of it like a movie. Like there's a narrative to how I want to cut this and edit it. The fact that I think a lot of people whose jobs primarily are photographers and videographers of weddings they might not come to it with that like same storytelling and filmmaking background that you kind of have, which is, I think, kind of maybe a cool way of thinking about it and approaching it.
Thank you. And I'm available for more weddings, so
Like, see, yeah, by all means, this can be. Some podcasts say no free ads. I'm the opposite. Free ads. Anyone who's a guest on this, if you've got services available, but for real. So, like, what are the types of things? Not saying just that someone listening to this would be like, "Oh, I got to contact him for this," but what are the different types of events in your mind that you're like, yeah, these are the types of things that I could do. Like a wedding is one. Maybe what are the things that that either you've done or just that you're like, this is the type of thing that I'd be interested, even if I've never spearheaded this project before, that I'd like to tackle this type of thing.
it depends. I've been trying, especially as I've been getting more into freelancing and taking on projects that I just haven't done before. Excuse me, haven't done before. Um, just being able to go into a new space like that and think, okay, what does my creative voice like dictate me doing, and how can that fit with this type of event? Like I'm filming something for a trade show next week, and I haven't done that before, but I'm excited to like get dig in and see like, okay, this is going to be a very hectic event. Where is the story in all this, and how does that fit in with the client? I've filmed a movie premiere that was kind of crazy. That was a very interesting new experience just because it was like the story's already told. This is more of a thing for sizzle social media, but it was also I recognize that guy from stuff, and I don't want him to perceive me as being here because I don't think I'm going to be able to like keep my composure. Um, but I yeah, any and I the stuff I filmed for HBHA, like I filmed something for their VIP day in 2021, and like filming assemblies of children was something new, and it's always just it's always a fun new experience to get to um like exercise creative muscles and then kind of learn along the way, see if I get to do something again, how I can improve for the next one.
I was curious, kind of, you kind of touched on this a little bit. When you approach some new creative endeavor, whether it's filming a VIP day thing, a wedding, this movie premiere, it sounds like each one kind of like in your own mind, it's like there's a certain tone or style or like story you're trying to tell within whatever you're doing. I was just curious. This might be hard to explain, but like, what's your thought process like? Or is there like is there like a way you conceptualize it in your head or a certain checklist of things where you're like,
Mm.
I need to know this, this, and this in order to make it come out the way I want? Just like from a filmmaker's perspective, what's kind of that process like, either internally or in terms of like literal things that you do to make sure it comes out the way that you want it?
The biggest thing I would say is just communication, because a lot of times if I'm like there for a shoot like that, it is I have a client that is having me be there. And so a lot of times they are very good at communicating what they want. A lot of times they're not. And so it's about figuring out in their mind what they see, and how I can best bring that to life. But I'm also a very visual thinker, so I usually come into things thinking about the edit and thinking, okay, this is the type of coverage that I want. This is the like pacing of the cuts, or especially for this movie premiere, since it was a movie produced by a record label, they have a lot of like great soundtrack choices. And coming into it, knowing the songs, knowing some of the people that were going to be there, and being able to kind of cater, all right, I know that they have this part of the song they have a featured role in, so I want to make sure to get some shots of them like mingling or having fun, laughing at the movie, um, to use that in the edit. So always thinking of the final product is a big part of that, but also leaving myself the space to experiment or just kind of let fate take the wheel and see how things go. Because I think coming at it from an editing side first lets me kind of plan A, B, and C to figure out what stuff is going to be in the edit, but not necessarily have that really strict idea because things are always going to change,
It
and
sounds like
you got to think on your
done,
feet.
it sounds like you've done pretty much all the different roles within filmmaking. Like you've written, you've animated, you've directed, you've edited. Is there like it sounds like you kind of enjoy the whole process, but is there a specific role within the entire filmmaking process that you're like, I really love editing. I like taking everything, being able to put it all together. Is there like a favorite thing that you gravitate towards that, especially as maybe you eventually move on to some bigger project where there's just one person for each of these roles, as opposed to someone taking on the entirety of the project that you really love about the process?
I do really like editing. It's the thing I have the most experience in, and I think the there's an old quote, I forget exactly who said it, but it's like a movie is written three times. It's written once in the script, once in filming, and once in editing. And editing is, to me at least, the most important part of that because no matter what choices were made in the script or the filming, editing when you're putting it together is what an audience is going to see. So if they change this line on set, like I can't go back and have them reshoot it necessarily. I can't, like if they mess up a line, I need to find a way around that or hope that there's a take or an alternate angle that I can use. And so it's always like a puzzle that you're trying to solve where you don't necessarily know how many pieces there are, but you know the image that you want to see at the end of it. Um, but that being said, I do also like directing. I think it's something I don't have as much experience in. But it is a lot of fun to come into something with a vision and then work collaboratively with everybody else who's on set, cast and crew, and figure out what the best version of that creative vision is because I can come in with a very particular idea, but maybe an actor will think of a line somewhat differently, or they'll have a different idea for their backstory than I do. And working together to figure out how, like, the best version of the story we're trying to tell can come out in film. And then, especially if I'm also editing, coming into that later and remembering all that, thinking, okay, this, like, I was thinking of this maybe this scene as a different had a different pacing, but now that I've seen how the actor felt about it during the scene and had this discussion with them, it completely changes how I think about how I think the edit is going to turn out.
Filmmaking is one of these things where it's to like a very mild degree. Everyone's making films nowadays, right? I mean, what I mean is like everyone has obviously a smartphone. People are making TikTok videos. And sometimes people will edit those. But if you were talking to someone who's maybe younger, who's listening to you, and they're like, yeah, I like making videos on my phone or whatever, but I'm interested in this more as like a career or learning more about it. What is like a good? It can seem maybe overwhelming. Like there's so many tools. Where do I go? What do I do? What is something, if there's someone who is interested in getting into filmmaking, whether that's just for fun, or maybe professionally, but doing it on a bit more of a serious level than just whatever apps come on their phone, basically, like what would you say is a way that they can maybe get started, or what should they maybe do or look for to start the learning process? Because it almost seems like there's so much to learn, it could be overwhelming.
It is because you can always learn more. There's always new tools to figure out, new things that you can learn how to do. Like I just got into color correction as like a process thing, and it's been a little overwhelming because there's all this different science behind it that I don't know. But people say it all the time, the best camera is the one that you have. The best tool is the one that's most readily available. So if you liked making videos and you like telling stories, just start doing it. Um, Film a thing on your phone, and then if you want to experiment with video editing, start with iMovie or DaVinci Resolve. They're both free plugins with free programs with a lot of power. And just keep experimenting. If your vision is exceeds your skill, then try your best with the project you have, and on the next one, try more because like you're only going to get better at it. You're not going to get worse. And that's been something, especially as I've been trying to learn more about the areas of the process that I am not super knowledgeable in, has been a good guiding force.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. And what you said about iMovie is definitely true. I know Steven Soderbergh, right? Who's a very famous, prolific, super prolific Hollywood director. He's had multiple movies that he has shot on iPhones and edited on iMovie. And these are like
Yep.
Hollywood movies. And this is like an Oscar-winning director.
Apple
And these,
keynote
not when
events.
he started. Like these are movies that he's made within the last 10 years,
Yeah.
where that's what he's
Apple
used technology.
Apple keynote events are filmed on iPhones and edited in like consumer prosumer level things. Like you don't need to have a $65,000 camera. You don't need like a Hollywood editing setup to make a movie. You can do it in iMovie, you can do it in Premiere, you can do it in Final Cut. As long as the tool is making sense to you, that is the right tool.
And let's be real, if you've got a project idea in mind, you don't know how to film it, reach out to Jacob Katz. He's available for freelance work.
I wasn't gonna shill out for myself, but I won't say no.
I remember a video that you shared online a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that was really cool. It might have been a project that you worked on for school. It was like a short, maybe 10 or 15-minute film that involved a lot of flashing lights. You know what I'm talking
Yes, that's my senior
about?
thesis film.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about that video? I watched it. I remember it really cool just in terms of what you said it was for your senior thesis. So obviously this was like a big project. What were maybe the parameters of what you needed to accomplish, and then just what that film was about and how you did it.
Sure. So the one you're talking about is called Internalize. That was our senior thesis film. How our degree program worked, it's the electronic arts program at Missouri State, and it was a when you get into the degree program, it's like a very small class, which people at HBHA are used to. So our class of people in this degree program was about 15 kids for our year, and it takes film kids, animation kids, audio kids, and new media kids. So people who are into interactivity or web design or VR, anything that is not in those other three boxes, and has them work together on a range of different projects. And there's been some really cool stuff that's come out of the program in the past. There's been some other stuff that's come out of it since I've been in it. But the mandate is that you have to have at least two of those different groups represented. What you see a lot is short films because animation and film kids, like those kind of go hand in hand. But there have been visual albums. I got a chance to work on something like that. There have been full on like 2D animated films that were really impressive for a student production. There have been 3D animated films that have gotten into Oscar qualifying festivals. And so for Internalize, um, none of that applies, but we
Not
wanted
yet.
to make
Not yet.
it's well, we wanted to, so my friend Chris and I, we had been working together a lot in some of the like classes leading up to the degree program class. And we knew we wanted to work on something together, and we wanted to make this like very emotional story just based on mental health and depression, which doesn't sound super unique in hindsight. Every college kid makes a short film about depression. But with my like animation background, and he was very into the cinematography of it, we thought we could do a much more VFX driven short film than some of the other stuff that was in production at the time. So we spent 7 or 8 months writing a script before the senior year. So we started this January of our junior year, and then got approved through the degree program. We crewed up. I think our final crew was about 50 people, um, very large for a student production. And we were very fortunate to have some of the people that were on the crew because they were all incredibly talented. Um, we filmed it in October, November of 2019, and then started editing in January of 2020. And then the world kind of collapsed on itself, and we had to pivot a lot because our original post-production plan, which is like the editing and the VFX and animation side of it, we had a whole team of people. We were going to use the school's equipment, which was significantly more powerful than what we had in our houses. And suddenly we couldn't do that because of the pandemic.
No.
So we had to change a lot of stuff. Looking back on it in hindsight, there are so many things we know now, 5 years after the fact, that we look back and we say that could have been better. I would never have done this the same way. But a lot of the VFX was done by me. A lot there, we had a great team of modelers who helped us with some of the more complex effects that happen. There's a scene where the character is having a mental breakdown and the room around him kind of collapses into this weird abstract void. And we had the entire room modeled out in 3D And our team that did that was just so talented. Like some of the shots that some of the test shots we were doing, I couldn't tell the difference. Um, and it was very impressive on a student side, but um, we finished it in June. It was weird that one day I just woke up and wasn't in college anymore
You're done.
because
Here you go. You
we
got it.
didn't have a graduation, didn't have our showcase. And then we had on the festival circuit for a little bit. We got some awards, which was nice. And then we went our separate ways because that's what happens after college.
Well, oh, well, congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
What did it win?
We got placed in a couple festivals. We got Best VFX at an Italian festival, and we got an official selection.
Italian festival? The student
You
film
s-
ended up in an Italian festival?
you submit stuff everywhere. What
That's
I've learned
very
is
cool.
thank you. And then we got an official selection into the Fayetteville Film Festival, which was cool because they brought on us and a couple other people from our degree program who had worked on another project that got selected to do interviews for that, which was very neat, very cool.
Um, I've seen the video, as I said. So I remember when you shared it, and it's a very cool video. If people listening want to check it out, is it still like, can they find it online? Is there a way
It
to?
is, yeah, it's on my college has a YouTube channel where they put all the student projects. It's called Missouri State University Electronic Arts. But to shill myself out again, if you go to my website, jacobkatz.xyz, I have all my projects on there, including some things I did for HBHA.
Now we're talking. Okay, so jacobkatz.xyz. I'll make
Got to
sure
transition to the lore.
you can check it out because as people are listening to this, I imagine that many people will want to check out some of these videos that you're talking about. So it's nice that there's just a one-stop shop where people can find all of them.
If they want, no pressure.
We'll pivot to, we've talked a lot about video stuff, and we'll pivot to HBHA here in a moment. I'm curious just kind of where this passion came from. Are there any either a specific movie or show or director that maybe when you were younger you watched and you were like, yeah, this really kind of like set me on this path to really doing that? And then maybe that might have been when you were young, what was an influential thing. But then also nowadays, are there any particular movies or shows or directors that really like inspire you and you look to as like, this person, I really like the way they conceptualize things, and they're a big influence on the way that I try to think of myself as a filmmaker.
Um, when I was younger, this is going to be a humongous surprise to everyone listening. The Simpsons
Like I was
was
gonna say, Simpsons freak, Simpsons freak.
Simpson.
I'm not
Don't
calling
do,
Jacob a
don't
Simpsons.
dox me like that.
That
Don't
that
dox me like
that's
that.
that was his email address as a child, maybe
It
even
was.
no.
Don't don't put me on blast like that, Micah. So The Simpsons, like when I was a kid and I was getting into it, it just has there's so much of it, and especially in the golden era, it was referencing all of these different properties and movies. And as a kid who like didn't have much of a background in that, it like seeing all these references in the episodes, like if they reference Psycho, I had never seen Psycho, but it made me aware of it, so I would go watch Psycho. Or like an X-Files episode made me want to watch the series. All these different cultural references that they were doing, all these different guest stars like would give me new avenues to explore, new things to watch, and new stuff to do, and then gain an even greater appreciation for what they were referencing. There's a Halloween episode where they do a whole Shining parody, and I I love The Shining. It's one of my favorite books. It's a great movie. Um, and so I had never seen it before watching that episode. So after watching that, I read the book. Not something you should do as a 12-year-old. I watched the movie. Certainly not something you should do as a 12-year-old. But like that made me appreciate Kubrick a lot more. I watched 2001, got into kind of the sci-fi horror movies, so I watched Alien and stuff after that. And it was just all these different worlds that were getting painted together. All these different worlds that were getting constructed and shown off in such creative ways were just the best thing that I could have experienced. And so that got me into more film stuff. I it's one of the most I hang out with too many film kids because anytime you say you like Tarantino, they're like, ah, yeah, of course you do. But he's such a great director. I love Quentin Tarantino. Him and Edgar Wright are two of my favorite directors. But also seeing like I think you and I have talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once
Yeah.
as just an amazing movie. But that's like a grounding thing for me just because it was made for not very much money with just two very passionate guys who came up doing music videos and a VFX team that was like seven people in Adobe After Effects, which is not like a gigantic Hollywood program. It's something that I use. So it's something that like seeing a movie like that was made with such accessible tools and with such a passion things like that are what keep inspiring me and a lot of the people I work with to keep moving forward with stuff that we want to make.
Yeah. And connect when you just said that thing about everything everywhere all at once. At the Oscars, I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, the movie that won Best Animated Feature was Flow, which I haven't seen, but I know was made by like literally like 8 people. Were
It
the,
was made it was made in Blender, which is a free program that anyone can download and work in, and it's incredible to see like stuff like that that's just made with devotion get such high awards because you don't need
yeah.
a $5,000 computer and $3,000 piece of software. You can just download Blender and make cool stuff.
Yeah, the movie it beat out was The Wild Robot, which is a great movie, but like
Also a good movie.
on the opposite side of things, that's like a huge DreamWorks production, probably cost
Yeah.
$200 million to make or whatever. And not that the movies are in competition with each other, but it's cool seeing what you can do just with tools. The unifying theme that I'm hearing amongst your love of The Simpsons, Quentin Tarantino, Edgar Wright, those are all properties and directors who they like kind of like chopping things up and doing like a hybrid of different styles and genres and a lot of references to things that came before them. And it's like taking your influences and scrambling them and also putting your own touch on it to make your own unique spin on things that came before. So
I love a pastiche.
we love a pastiche. Um, are you like when you just think about your role in the filmmaking world, like ideally, would you be interested in working in like the larger feature film space, or do you prefer working in the non-features things like events, programs, things like that, or is it kind of a combination of both?
Yeah, there's always the dream to like, oh, I want to go direct a big movie,
Huh?
but I it's such a daunting process because like on the indie side and with even like small commercial shoots that I'm doing, like you get so much more control, you get so much more not even control, you just get to execute your vision more and you get to collaborate with people much more directly. When
Mhm.
you move into a studio side, there's just all these different departments and standards and ideas, not ideas, but like people with their own ideas
That's
that
control.
may not, but like department heads or studio executives that don't, they really just want to have their mark on a project. They don't necessarily have a creative stake in it. They have a financial stake, which is still important, but I don't know, it's just a different world, and it's not one that I have stepped that much into, but it's something that like would be very cool, but it loses something when you move from the indie space working with 10 to 50 people to something where 3,000 people are working on it, you know?
Makes sense. All right, we are going to segue very smoothly.
Okay.
We're going to wind the clock back a little bit to some HBHA times here. Um, but we're still going to talk a little bit here about some stuff because so Jacob was a student at HBHA, obviously, but he also, for those who don't know, is a former teacher at HBHA because when he was a student, Jacob had this very cool idea to lead a class, like an actual semester long class that he pitched, and I had the privilege of being the the teacher who was really just the overseer of the operation, making sure everything was going smoothly. But Jacob devised everything. He devised the curriculum, the assignments. There were, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, but I believe there were 4 students in the class. It was James Mendel, Idan Kohavi, Yoni Mahari, and Ethan Matzel.
Correct.
Big 4.
Big 4.
It was, as you probably aren't surprised to hear, people listening, it was a filmmaking class. Can you just tell us a little bit about that idea of where you were like, hey, I want to share my knowledge and interest there, and then we'll get into some of the shenanigans of that class, because it was
so this is something I've said a lot when I talk about HBHA, but the freedom that they gave students to follow their passions, even if the school hadn't necessarily like stepped into that field yet,
we didn't have like a
is
filmmaking club.
right. It's very commendable because if they didn't let me kind of explore the video side of things, I would not be in the field I'm in today. And so with after working with Tech Club for a while and after like getting better with doing the stuff that I was trying to learn how to do, working on like filming some stuff to tie into the upper school play, stuff for literature and film.
Well, you got there.
I gotta plug you. But I felt like a fun thing to do to like help me learn more, but also spread this around a little bit would be to put together a class and just go over some of the process, because the single most important thing I learned was that there's just always something more to figure out. And that can be a very daunting thing if you just think, I want to make a video, but you don't know what you don't know. So I talked to Todd Clower and I talked to you, and both of you were very open to the idea. And I think it was also, I'll say it, I don't think I was the best student. So I think a lot of it was
I've had worse.
that's kind of you. I think it was something where they're like, okay, you'll get a taste of your own medicine.
Did you? What
And
was it like actually teaching a class and being in charge?
it was overwhelming. I married a teacher. Shout out to my wife. She wanted me to to shout her out. Um, but like I had a lot of fun with it. I think it was a great learning experience for me because knowing something and then being able to communicate that are two very different things.
Yeah.
And it can be people have different learning styles too, and so being able to have an idea in your head and then get that into someone else's head can be very difficult if they're not receptive to it, or they're not passionate about it, or they're just not interested in it. Um, and that's a challenge for all teachers that I've learned. And like I, I think it was a successful experiment for my end. I don't know how those 4 people feel about it now.
I think that they feel it was incredibly successful. So basically, the class was you introduced all these filmmaking elements: storyboarding, directing, writing, editing. You taught them each of those elements. You showed some examples, did a little bit of practice with each of them, and then ultimately they each made their own film, which were glorious. I believe I ended up in all of them somehow.
You probably did.
I can't, it's killing me. I can't remember. So for the 4 of them, if they're listening, which I hope they will, please chime in a comment or let me know with the other movies. I remember 2 of the movies. There was Powerball and there was Ghost of HBHA. Ghost of HBHA is the main one I recall.
You have a better memory than I do about this stuff.
There was just all sorts of wacky shenanigans going on. I don't remember who the Ghost of HBHA was. I think I don't even remember whose film that was. It could have been.
You'll just have to get all 4 of them on the podcast and get them to talk about it.
Well, if you're listening, Edan, James, Ethan, Yoni, let us know the movie, but it was a great experience, and it was super cool for me as a teacher, to really just like sit back and let you take the reins. I mean, really, I was just in there for crowd control, but you had everything under control, and like you said, that is a really cool experience to be able to take something that you love and not just learn more about it, but really share it with other people. You did also, were you about to say something there about?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say like it felt like the end of it felt like the natural progression after doing other video projects for the school,
Huh?
from filming assemblies to doing short films with your other classes in the upper school play. It felt like the next step, and I was very lucky that they let me try it out.
Yeah. Well, there's two other film related things I want to talk about. I had the pleasure of being involved with both of them as well during your time there. So you mentioned an elective that I taught called literature and film, which is exactly what it sounds like. We basically read books or stories that also had a movie adaptation, and we read, we watched the adaptation, and we compared the two. So and we analyzed them and talked about differences, all sorts of stuff. It was very, very fun. And for the and you were in that elective when I taught it.
I was.
And one of the books that we read, so the final project was students had to take a story of their choice and make their own adaptation of it. One of the books that we read and movies we watched for the class was Into the Wild, which, for people who don't know the book Into the Wild, it's a really good nonfiction book by a guy named John Krakauer, where he tells he's a reporter, and he learned about this story of this guy named Christopher McCandless, who graduated from college, abandoned all of his possessions, basically hitchhiked all around the United States, eventually found his way into the Alaskan wilderness, where he died from eating some poison berries. There's a really good movie adaptation of it too. Anyway, that was my setup for you to talk about. What was the project that you focused on for your final project there, which was glorious?
So, myself, Alec Bratt, and Justin Fow,
Big three.
um,
Or
big
a
three,
big three. There's many big threes, but that was a big three.
three of the big five of the boys in our class.
Three of the big five boys. Shout out to
Yes.
Zach and Sam Matzel. We love you
Shout
guys.
out, love that whole class. But we had been going back and forth on like what we should adapt
Sure.
and couldn't land on something. And I think I forget who threw it out. Someone was like, "What if we just make a sequel to Into the Wild?" And we said, "Okay, that's a good idea."
Mind you, Into the Wild just ends with the only character in the book just dying. So
It's not the most respectful idea.
sure. So what was Into the Wild 2, which I believe was called The Candlelighting?
It was called the candlelighting. It was a great experiment in how much we could turn us running around in the field that used to be by HBHA,
Which is
and
now
turn
turning
that.
into a Mario Andretti go-kart racing track. It's on its way to becoming that.
What a cool bit of capitalism. But we ran around. I borrowed Tech Club's camera. We ran around in the field for a couple hours, and then
There was a
we
script.
turned. There was not. We turned it into like 8-minute short film that was, I think, successful in what we wanted to do, which was make something fun. Um,
It was
we
and it was successful in what I wanted, which was serious film cinematic adaptation.
Sure.
As I recall, Alec was the character who was wandering in the woods.
He was.
Justin's primary role was I believe, a goose or maybe an
He
ostrich.
was an ostrich that Alec killed for warmth and food, and tried to pick up but couldn't, which is a great shot because we didn't dress Justin up like a goose or an ostrich at all. He's just
No.
standing there and starts screaming.
The ostrich! It's back! I think I can get it this time. I'm eating good tonight! I love ostrich meat.
or squawking, perhaps.
Or squawking. And the big reveal at the end was that he was by civilization the whole time because we came up at the top of the hill and you just see town center.
No, that's actually a decent connection to the actual plot of Into the Wild, because one of the tragedies of the book is he was only like 5 miles away from civilization, but he was.
See, we knew what we were doing.
Yeah, so thematically, it's fitting, it's apropos. It was a great movie. Is that one on the jacobkatz.xyz website, or do I need to dig into the archives to find Into the Wild too?
That's on my YouTube channel. I can send that to you. That one didn't feel like anyone who's trying to vet me professionally should need to watch that.
but anyone who wants to vet you podcastly by listening to this will want to check it out, especially Justin's sterling performance as an ostrich.
We'll see how happy he is that I bring this up. I don't know how
I'm thrilled
hidden
with
he
it.
wants his ostrich performance.
I think it was amazing. And then one last one, and then we'll pick, because you didn't just do video. There's more. There's more to you than just a camera. But
I contain multitudes.
You do. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a project you did during my first year here, which is for starting my second year, I have been the high school play director. My first year here, Dr. Bannon was the high school play director, and I was kind of an assistant, just helping him out and learning the ropes because I knew I was going to take over as play director afterwards. And so that year we did, this would have been your sophomore year.
Yes. Or junior.
I think it was sophomore year because it was
either one.
Either way, we were there. We were all there. We were the plays were 2 one-act Agatha Christie plays, but they were pretty short. And so I don't remember if it was Dr. Bannon's idea originally or yours or someone's idea to also do, since Agatha Christie's plays are murder mysteries, to do our own murder mystery at HBHA, which became The Case of the Missing Menches. Can you tell us a little bit, which you filmed? You were the filmmaker of The Case of the Missing Menches, or the editor, at least primarily, putting it together. Can you tell us a little bit about The Case of the Missing Menches?
I think that was just one of those things where someone threw out the idea and it seemed like a lot of fun to do. I know it came from your class, which Justin filmed it. He at least he was the camera operator. But I think someone came to us and just said like, hey, we want to put this together. And we said, that sounds awesome. But it was really like, I think we were just following your class's lead and just saying like, hey, we have this story, we want it filmed, and we were just along for the ride. Editing was a lot of fun just because a murder mystery is always fun to put together because you're kind of working backwards from an ending. But it was also one of the first more quote unquote serious narrative things that I edited. And it was fun to put together.
And it's a perfect example of what you were talking about earlier about the importance of editing. I remember when I saw the movie for the first time, and I was just blown away because we had all this raw footage where it's like very silly, but what you did was you desaturated it, you made it all in black and white, you had this very ominous music, you slowed down certain aspects of things. And it felt, it was very silly, but it felt like, there's like real tension here and real stakes here in this absurd story. What the story was about, I'll spoil Case of the Missing Menches for people, is there various Menches of the week. Now we have Mensch of the month. Back then we had Mensch of the week. Various Menches of the week were disappearing mysteriously. One of them ended up in a recycling bin. One of them ended up just dead at the bottom of the stairs. And it was this mystery of who is killing the Menches. And I won't spoil it. I'll maybe I'll do a little teaser.
It's a good twist.
It's a good twist, let's just say. If you have not seen it.
Well then who could it be? Who's the mysterious Mensch murderer?
This person has harbored a hatred for all Menches. They are filled with a great jealousy. They are often called intelligent, responsible, compassionate. They are a leader and a role model. He, however, has deceived us all. This week's murderer is Micah Margulies.
It's true. I've always hated you Menches. You and your smug kindness. Puppies? Who gives puppies to every kindergartner?
They needed a hug.
Shut up!
But why, Mr. Margulies?
Do you know what it's like? Sit in class for an entire hour with your hand raised and never get called on? Do you know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep every night because you never won Mensch of the Week? Well, I do! Oh, yes. I've known all about your middle society for years. You and your stupid medals and your crackers, your gluten-free crackers. Please! I went to this school for 12 years. And do you know all the Menschy things I did? Who started the coin collection for the orphans in Norway? Me! Who started the program to donate shoes to the Aboriginals doing walkabouts in Australia? Me! Who started after-school student-led tutoring? Well, that was Mrs. Crash. But I was on the committee. So you see, I had to come back to set things straight and take what was mine. Mine!
All right, that's enough out of you, Menches. Take him away.
You have the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be used against you.
You haven't seen or heard the last of me, you meddling Menches!
There were several years, there was like a 5 or 6 year span where somehow or another we showed it every year. It was just like, hey, let's show this. Whether it was in class or not, or some sort of assembly, it got shown a lot. But I'll bet that students from the last 5 or 6 years don't really know it. So if you're listening to this and you want to know the twist of who's murdering the Menches, you'll have to check out Case of the Missing Men.
I'll send Micah the link because I do still have it. I remember for that we commandeered a Taste of Shabbat thing for it, and we were running around with a camera while they were announcing Mensch of the Week, and people just had no idea what we were doing, and we were trying to keep it a secret, but it was also like we had almost manufactured that week's Mensch to get named just for the video, which they still deserved it, but it was
Joel Goodovitz.
It was Joel Goodovitz, and just running around Taste of Shabbat with a camera and pointing it at people and them having no idea what was going on was a very fun experience, because it's always fun to cause a ruckus and keep it a secret for a little bit.
Absolutely. It was a blast. That was a great video. One of the special things about HBHA is every senior gets to give a speech at graduation, right? And about a 2-minute speech. And Miss Renee and I, we work with the seniors throughout the whole year, and we've done it together since our first year teaching 13 years ago. So we've worked with 13 classes, graduating classes, helping them shape their speeches over the course of the year. I bring that up because while every senior gives a speech, you took kind of a unique spin on yours, which I think connects to what you were saying about how HBHA can take people's passions and if an idea they have and let them run with it in a unique direction. Can you tell us a little bit about what you decided on for your graduation speech? Because it was really cool.
Thank you. My graduation speech honestly came together from my end pretty quickly. I forget where we were. I think we were like on the bus back from a Chicago field trip, or maybe it was the plane back from the Jewish Heritage trip. But I had been racking my brain to think of something for a speech because the guidance was talk about a memory at HBHA that you really like, or talk about some aspect of your Jewish education. And I kept coming back to, well, the stuff that the school has given me, a lot of good memories and a lot of great Jewish education, but those aren't the things that have mattered. Those aren't the things that have impacted me the most. Of course they matter, but not the things that have kind of left their mark on me as much as the trust from the school to make the tech club, or to, have a winterim that's just playing Super Smash Brothers, or do Case of the Missing Mentions or anything like that. So I had this idea to kind of break out of the normal speeches, and I had an in with the guy who ran the White Theater, because I had been doing some production stuff there and helping out with the plays, the shows they were putting on, but also in working with the upper school play because it was put on the White Theater. And so I was talking to him about it, and he was like, you don't need, we can put something together that's cooler than that. And I said, that's an interesting idea. So I wrote out this whole speech that was just about what you talked about, that HBHA doesn't, they almost encourage you to not fit into an established mold, because there's so much room for each student to stretch their legs and really express themselves. And so I put on a little bit of a prank.
I wouldn't call it a prank exactly.
It was a bit of a prank.
Well,
it was a little bit of a
prank. It caught people off guard who weren't in the know, but basically it was you talking about how you can do all these different things, make the lights switch when you clap, and you would clap and the lights would swirl. So it was this really cool incorporation of all of the lighting design elements that the White Theater has at their disposal into your speech, and the way that you can control it and have things change just by how you're talking and what you're doing.
The beginning of it was much more of a prank because the idea was like in the middle of the speech, the lights would start to go out and
Oh
have
yeah.
like a malfunction, and
Oh, that was
I would keep talking, but no one, at least in the moment, no one was like, if the lights are out, why is the sound still working?
yes. No, people aren't thinking that quickly on their feet.
But like the big prank was I would clap twice and the lights would come back on. And then Justin Fow, who is such a talented, smart guy, helped me make the music for the end of it, where it would just start to all kind of come together in a big like stage show type of thing.
Mhm.
And it was I'm very happy with how it turned out. I felt very bad that I was in the exact middle of the class
Mhm.
because I asked Todd if I could go at the end because I was like, I know that it will be weird, but I know that this is going to be like something large, and
Yeah,
I feel really bad if I just go sit back down and then.
it's okay.
But there's one story I think that perfectly sums up my experience at this school. So we were all hanging out in the lounge when, okay. Just give this a second, everyone. I'm sure this will all be fixed in a second. I guess I'll just move on. Where was I? What makes HBHA unique? What makes this school so unique and special is how much it cares for each student and personalizes not only their curriculum to that student, but how they let that student express themselves. Say, for example, there's a technical problem during a school program. Well, the school will let you, with a clap of your hands, fix everything, like this. Or, say that you want to express yourself in more than words during a speech. Well, HBHA will let you do that too. With a flick of your wrist, you can change the colors around. Or with another clap, you can start some music. Hey. Oh, but we're just getting started. The school will go further and encourage you to push and challenge yourself and do things you never thought possible, like having the room explode in a display of light and color with the snap of your fingers. The amazing thing about the school is that it will let you do all of this. It will let you break away from tradition in favor of the unconventional. It will let you express yourself in whatever way you want. And best of all, it will let you do this without telling any of your friends, just so you can get genuine reactions on their faces. But most of all, this school taught me, the school taught me to put a spotlight on myself and showcase my talents. To not be afraid of being different or wanting to deviate from the norm. It taught me to dream, to think, to try, to believe, and how to go out with a bang. So thank you, HBHA, for making me the person I am today, for putting up with me for 12 long years, for helping me find what I want to do in life, and finally, thank you for letting me upstage all of my friends, which I am genuinely sorry about. I'm so blessed to be a part of this school, and especially this class, and neither words, nor lights, nor actions can adequately express my love for you all. Thank you.
We continue, right? And you know what? Zach crushed his speech too.
All of the speeches were amazing. Zach was a great sport. But yeah, I felt really bad about that, just going and sitting back down. And only like I am pretty happy that only 5 people in the entire like school and associated like production of it knew what was going on. It was you, me, Justin, Todd, and Jason, who was the guy who was designing the lights at the theater. And to go with all of like the putting trust in the students, like Todd did not tell the head of school. He did not tell any of the rest of the administration. He kept all of it a secret, and he made sure that like when we were rehearsing them, I went last so that we could do all of the lights and the sound testing without anybody catching wise to it. And I'm very proud of how it turned out. I think that it's just a great illustration of the school having the confidence in its students to let them do things that haven't been done before. And
an idea. You had an idea. You had the way you had it conceived, and you built it up from there and turned into an awesome finished product.
well, thank you. And I every now and then when I miss my friends, because I live in St. Louis now, I think a lot of them have gone back to the Kansas City area, but we're also spread around a little bit. Anytime I miss my friends, I'll sometimes just go watch some snippets of that. And each time I see a new reaction from somebody where
Oh,
the
send this
music
my way. If
start.
you've got a video of this, send it my way as
Oh,
well.
I got
Yeah.
like I have video of everything.
You know what?
It's
We're
a
not even
curse.
there's not even gonna be a podcast episode. It's just gonna be a series of disjointed video clips strung together, and people will just have to figure out who's behind it.
I won't say no. But it's like I think my favorite thing is the head of school, who he and I had a fairly good relationship. It was sometimes a little contentious. But when it all happens, he's just like head in his hands going like this. Like that's exactly what I wanted.
Good,
Yes.
perfect. I've left my mark as I'm departing. Well, we've talked about a lot of tech related things, and I brought up the stories that I knew. But there's, as you said, you contain multitudes. Are there any? And you were there for a long time. I believe you were at HBHA starting from kindergarten. Is that correct?
No,
Oh no, not correct.
I was first grade, so I'm
Oh,
not a full lifer.
okay, but that's a lot
I'm
of.
I'm a sham.
No, you're not a sham, and you have nothing to be ashamed of, Jacob. Maybe we'll do like a Billy Madison. You have to go back and complete kindergarten so you can actually
That
go.
that would be the single worst experience for any teachers that remain there.
How's that for a short film idea? Jacob goes to kindergarten, and it's just you doing a documentary of your year in kindergarten.
It's me filming myself
Yeah,
learning
you
how
go
to
yourself.
learning
Um,
colors.
no, but are there any? There's a lot of, as you mentioned, you're very close with your class. Are there any particular moments or experiences that stick out to you that you want to shout out that I haven't covered yet?
Um, One that's always stuck out to me, when we were in our senior year, the Royals won the World Series.
Oh,
Um,
I know where this is going, but keep
you
going.
know exactly where this is going.
I'm involved in this one as well,
Of course you are. Um,
continues.
and I'm not super into sports or baseball, but like everybody around there, everyone was so excited about it. And so the school took us to the Royals Day Parade, which
Yeah.
looking back was such a gigantic ask of the teachers to take 250 children to an incredibly big parade at Crown Center.
I think there were like 1.5 million people there at the parade.
It was a lot, but in the middle of it, like they had broken up the classes so it was a little more manageable. And I think you were assigned to watch the senior boys in our class,
Right.
which was a curse because we were in the middle of it. We're like, we want pizza, and so we just went away.
Well, no. Middle of it's a bit of a stretch. Let me back up a little bit because I can clarify. So we all third grade and up went to the parade.
Right.
Again, like you said, we all got assigned different. Every teacher had a different group to keep track of, and I had, as you said, the senior boys, which was there were 5 of you, and I gathered you guys, and I said,
You
I knew
did.
well. I taught you guys many times at that point, and I go, guys, this is a crowded parade. There will be no cell phone service here. No one's. I can't call you if I lose you. We are going
Yeah.
to hold on to each other, like literally, like a chain, because it was,
Yep.
and we are not going to lose sight of each other. You guys were like, good. 14 seconds later, you guys were gone.
Yep.
I'll give you this from my perspective. Immediately, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm screwed here. This is terrible. I guess I've lost track of the people I'm responsible for. I guess I've got about an hour to find them. Let me start wandering through this throng of 1.5 million people. I'm wandering. Eventually, I make my way down to like Crown Center, where you guys are in line, and I just stumble upon you guys all waiting for a slice of pizza.
We were hungry.
Oh my god! I was like, "What are we doing here?" And you guys are just like, "Oh hey, yeah, we got hungry, so we
We
went."
fully bolted. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, it's okay. I tracked you down. You. It's like a rubber band. You left, and then I snapped you back where you needed to go.
And after we got pizza, we were good.
You were just a little hungry. I should have brought a little applesauce pouch for you all.
Yeah, that's on you. I take no blame for us deserting you in the biggest parade that we had ever been to.
No, nor should you. That one's on me. If I'd been smart, I would have assigned a predetermined meeting spot in case we got lost.
You should just put location tags on us like pets.
Now you've expanded beyond my tech capabilities. I would have had to rely on you for the location tag.
I would have done it. It seemed funny.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got you abandoning me and getting lost in the Royals Parade. Anything else that jumps out? You need that begs to be
I
shared?
do. From a more like educational Judaic standpoint, I was involved in Moot Beit Din, the Jewish debate team, for a few years with Miss Kaflon, who, if you can get her on the podcast, would be incredible. She
That'd be
is
She'd be a
the
great.
smartest human I've ever met. But I did that for a few years.
Can you,
We
for
got to
people who are listening who don't know what Moot Bedin is, can you just give a
Sure.
very brief explanation of what it means?
It's like Judaic debate, I guess, where like they'll give us some comp. Sometimes it was complex, sometimes it was a little sillier. Like one year it was, I think I want to say it was assisted suicide, and the next year it was this kid wants to eat kosher at summer camp. So very wide range of subjects, but some groups would make their case how they thought it should be ruled with their own research. Some would be provided like a bunch of varying sources for research, and some would be in the middle. And we usually lean towards the provided sources just because we thought we could make stronger cases based on the things that they would send to us. And our faculty liaison for it was Miss Coughlone, who is not at the school anymore, but she was a oh my God, social studies teacher and Judaics teacher and insanely smart human. Um, she was one of the like I think most influential teachers I had at the school just because she could take my unique tendencies as a student and kind of play into them the same that you did and Miss Renee did, the same that Rabbi Sossover tried to do and did his best with. But it was just very fun to go to those trips and to meet all these other kids who a lot of them were more Orthodox, a lot of them were like me, a little more conservative, Reformed Judaism, and just talk about these things, but also interact socially. Um, and it's always stuck out with me. They would always do kind of like learning seminars, and there was one about Jewish courses that had made it to the Supreme Court, and Miss Coughlin was very excited for it. And it turned out at the last minute the speaker had canceled, and so she just said, "I'll teach it. I'll run this seminar," and with no preparation, led this entire hour-long talk with cited sources, and I was just in awe of like,
Was there a pre-made slide that she used?
no, she was just the smartest person in the world.
Okay, so you're
Um,
saying this was an event, like a national event that you guys were like a
yeah,
event, and there was supposed to be a speaker talking about Jewish cases that went to the Supreme Court. The person wasn't there, and she just stood up and then taught that
yep.
seminar.
I was in awe, and this was
I wish you had your camera. You should have been filming that.
well, it was Shabbat. I couldn't. But
Before I let you go, we got to wrap up with the story that I've got to circle back to for not the first, not the second, but the third time. Now, I started this podcast with the idea of, as we hear different people's perspectives, different stories, we'll be able to weave together the entire trajectory of HBHA. The first guest on was Sam Matzel, your beloved
great guest.
classmate.
I love Sam.
And he told an amusing story about being in Jewish studies class with Rabbi Sossover and Rabbi Sossover catching the class, using their computer to do some online shopping when they should have been learning. I had Rabbi Sossover on as a guest recently, and he also told the story from his perspective about how he caught said students. Now, I've got a sneaking suspicion that
you don't. Yeah, of course it was me. Of course it was me.
So now that you're here, we've got to hear. This is truly what this is like. Are you familiar with the movie Rashomon?
Yes.
Right. Rashomon is a famous Japanese movie from the 1950s, where you hear about this crime that happened, and the story is told then from different people's perspectives. And you hear, this is our Rashomon, that we keep circling back to the same story. So now, Jacob, that you are here. Rashomon. There you go. That's the new name of that's what this that sequence is going to be titled.
That's the next murder mystery.
Rashomon. But if there's anything that you need to qualify or add about this legendary HBHA tale, now it's Jacob Katz's perspective. So anything that needs to be added, or do you think that Sam and Rabbi Sossover absolutely nailed the tale?
Looking back on it, I mean, even in the moment, it was a thing of like the Anchorman quotes, like, I'm not mad, I'm quite impressed. Like, from my memory of it, which could be flawed, it was 11 years ago somehow. He put the camera back there to catch us playing Minecraft because a lot of the boys in our class were playing Minecraft in his class. And I am not innocent to that. I did that a lot. But as far as my memory goes, if I can defend myself, when he caught me not taking notes in class, it wasn't me playing Minecraft. It was something that will not surprise anybody who knows me. I was browsing about new iPads on apple.com.
Of course.
But As far as I remember, I was in lunch detention in his classroom one day, which also won't surprise anybody. And he like called me over to his computer, and I thought I was just going to get a talking to of like, man, what are you doing? This is your like eighth time in here. You gotta pull it together. And he showed me this video, and he's like, "Is that you?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And he goes, "Were you taking notes?" I'm like, "No." And he goes, "All right, no more computers for you in this class." And I said, "That, yeah, okay, yeah,
Open and
fully
shut
agree."
case. Open and shut case.
Um,
And
I,
you said,
I,
I've got to start using filmmaking in a whole different way here.
I, I mean, looking back on that, I want to give a blanket apology to anybody who had me in their class.
Wow.
Um,
No apology needed, Jacob. I speak on behalf
okay.
of the faculty.
I want to give a blanket apology to everybody who had me in their class except Micah Margulies, especially Rabbi Sosver. But it like I I respect the teaching profession much more, especially after marrying a teacher.
Uh-huh.
And realize, I mean, when you're a kid, you think that like everything revolves around you, especially as a 16-year-old. And you know, I should have had a lot more respect for him and what he was teaching and his history with the Judaics study in the moment. But after that, there was something in my mind that was like, all right, this guy can play ball.
Play ball, and then the learning just kept growing from there.
Yeah, so
Um,
if Rabbi Salziver is listening, sorry.
he,
Big sorry.
he taught you, and he caught you. Even more importantly, he taught you and he
Oh,
caught you.
yeah. He
Um,
he he did exactly what he needed to do, and I want to say I was better after that, but who knows if
we'll
that's the
see if
truth.
somehow this might bring Rashimon to a close. We'll see if somehow there's a fourth perspective that ends up giving their stance on the situation.
On the grassy knoll,
Before I let you go, I'm gonna send a couple rapid fire questions your way,
go for it.
because we've covered HBHA and beyond. So obviously we talked a lot about filmmaking. Any give me one movie that you think that it doesn't have to be your favorite movie, but a movie that you think everyone should watch. You're like, I would recommend watch this movie, and maybe here's why.
I think I'll give you two, like an animated movie and a live action movie. I think Kubo and the Two Strings, which is a Leica movie, is such an impressive piece of technological filmmaking because the whole thing is stop motion, but it looks CGI. It's just such a great example of like the craft of stop motion, which is sadly not done enough. And same with like a Ghibli movie or like a Pixar movie. It's just the craft of doing that is so impressive, but that one just is always amazing.
I've seen it once.
And it's so good. We talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once, which it's one of those movies where I think it says very specific things in a very general way. So it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But the few times I've watched it, because it's just such an impactful movie to me, um, have always left me like feeling both empty inside because it's like, I'm sad now, but also very energized to like take on the world because it has such a positive view of what you can do with your life in the presence of all these different paths that you can take. And I mean, right now I'm freelancing, but I'm also like obviously looking for jobs. So it was something that I needed to watch when I was still feeling a little bit depressed about not having a full-time job anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was saying like you have all these different things you can do, and none of them are the wrong choice. It just matters if you are happy with it.
Very well said. How about favorite Simpsons character? It could you out through. Now, here's an actual question, and
Yeah.
have you kept up to date? Like, have you watched
Yes.
every episode of The Simpsons?
I might be a few behind, but I keep up.
There's like what now? About 700, I would guess.
They are almost at 800 at the time
800.
of recording.
It's around. It's on season like maybe 36 or so.
36 or 37.
Okay, so favorite Simpsons character, go.
It's got to be Homer. It can't not be Homer.
800 episodes, and he settled on Homer. I'll give you.
I
Here,
quoted Homer in my wedding vows. Like it.
Tell me more. You just said no.
My wife is going to be mad at me for bringing that up. So there's an episode where he is talking about renewing his vows to Marge, and in classic Homer fashion, everything does not go his way. But he said something in the episode that I was just like, it's such a touching sentence. He said, "Thank you for always finding the one piece of sugar in the salt shaker that is me. And I
Oh,
was like, that's such a great sentiment for the person that you found. For like, I my wife and I have like we call each other puzzle pieces sometimes because it's like we truly think that like there's nobody else. And I have bad days, everyone does, and I sometimes don't feel great about myself, but she has always managed to find that like one bit of positivity that I'm not seeing and bring it back out. And so I put that in the vows, and she was not happy about it in the moment, but
but
oh
in
well.
retrospect, I mean, it's a beautiful sentiment, even if it does come
I,
from one of
when
television's legendary buffoons. But he's a
when
good
you're
buffoon.
when you're in front of all your friends and family, and a lot of her family hadn't met me all that much, and you see your husband to be saying, to quote Homer Simpson, I think you're immediately
No,
like, oh no.
he's one of our wisest sages.
No, he's not.
Well, you would know better than me. All right, last one. I almost forgot to do this, and I'm thrilled that I didn't. You'll thank me too.
Okay.
One of your you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. One of your hallmarks during your time at HBHA was there was a certain book that you would talk on about to anyone who would listen, and you would say, read this book, read this book. The book is House of Leaves by
Finally got you to read it.
Danielewski. Am I pronouncing his name right? Danielewski?
Either Danielewski or Danielewski. I'm meeting him in December, so I'll know then.
Okay, so House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski, which is a very complex book. Now, I'm pleased to say, Jacob, I did not fulfill your dream when you were in high school of reading the book, but
Okay.
my illustrious friend, Dr. Kristen Houston, and I, both, she approached me last year, at the end of last year, and she said, you want to read the book House of Leaves together? I hear it might be a good one for two people to read and talk about. And I said, yeah. And you know who's going to be thrilled to hear this? Jacob Katz. I immediately messaged you. Give us a 30-second to 1 minute pitch as to why people should read the very confusing, complicated novel House of Leaves.
Oh boy. So it is a book that I think only works as a physical book, which is very interesting to me as someone who obviously likes the craft of filmmaking, likes the craft of storytelling, um, because it is designed in a way that like it needs to be a physical object. And as a concept, that's so interesting to me because like books you can read on your phone, you can read on a Kindle. This one just does not exist that way because it doesn't work like that. As a story, it is the most pretentious thing to explain. It's a three-layered narrative structure.
I can give the real easy version of the story, which is it's about a guy who develops that the house he's in
Is bigger.
the house don't make sense. It is
The
bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and then it's about
Yes.
unraveling that mystery. Is how that's
It's about unraveling that mystery, but the book, as you're reading it, is a research paper written about a film that that man made about his house. And on top of this research paper that you're reading, there is a tattoo artist who finds the manuscript of this research paper and is editing it, but is going crazy while he does. So you have the story of the man in the house, you have the story of this guy dissecting the film, and then you have this guy going crazy as he dissects the paper, dissecting the film. And the book does all like if you go to Google Images and you look at House of Leaves, there's all these different layout things that it does. They're like mirrored text on pages, these footnotes that ramble on as like a stream of consciousness writing. There's this insanely evocative poetry in it, but it's also just like a wonderful piece of writing. There's passages in there that I read for the first time in high school that have stuck with me since then because it was exactly what I needed to hear.
even the book itself is designed in a way where the inside, the pages of the book stick out more than
Yep.
the covers of the book, so that it reflects like the way of the house. There are passages that are written backwards, so you have to read it in a mirror. There are footnotes that are within footnotes that are within footnotes. If you are into very complicated meta fiction, right, like fiction that's about itself, I would recommend checking it out. And Jacob, I couldn't let you go without letting you pitch House of Leaves to all the listeners, since
And Micah, I'm going to get you to read his other books sometime too.
you never know. House of Leaves was a pretty big endeavor as well, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Yes,
Um,
it's a
I'm
great piece of writing.
You like the art of storytelling itself. So a lot of the movies and shows and books that you're citing as influences are it's not just what the story is, but it's like the meta story behind it as to like what were the influences on this? How did other voices shape this? How is the story commenting on itself and its creator as it's going, right? That's kind of things that all of those, there's a through line between Everything Everywhere All at Once and your love of The Simpsons, like hyper referentiality and House of Leaves. And you know what? It's because you're a storyteller yourself and you're telling your own story, which we've told here on HBHA Lore.
What a conclusion.
What a conclusion, Jacob. This has been an absolute delight for people who liked who anything you heard about that Jacob was talking about here, and you're like, I'd love to see some of the work he's done. I've been fortunate enough to have either been involved with in some capacity as like a teacher, many of the things he talked about, and I've also seen a lot of the videos that he referenced. But if you want to see more, you can go to jacobkatz.xyz.
You don't need to do this, but it's very kind of you.
I do need to do it, Jacob. I do, because I'm going to go here after this.
Oh boy!
Also mention your YouTube channel. Is that something you want? Is that best left unsaid? The
YouTube channel at this point is more just like
silly
a
nonsense.
dumping ground. Vimeo.com/Jacob Katz is where I have most of my like professional projects. If my sister's watching, her cooking shows are on YouTube too. That's on my dad's YouTube channel. Those are the first videos I ever made.
That's for the
and
Jacob
she
Katz
hates them.
fan. That's for
She hates them. So everyone go watch Brianna's cooking show, and she'll message me very angrily, and I'll just respond with a smiley face.
That's the best way to end it, with angering your
There you
sibling.
go.
Jacob, it's been a delight. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks so much.